Hey guys, it's Ben here, and today I want to talk about season 34 of Survivor Game Changers, and I want to talk about the conclusion and who deserved to win, who I think deserved to win, and just get into the season itself and talk about it a little bit. So the specific focus of this video will not be on the season overall as a whole. It'll be more about the final four, final tribal, and how it all played out, and talking about Brad and Sarah and Troyzan, and even Ty, and how each of them could have won, deserved to win, stuff along those lines. So in another video I did, I said that I was not going to include people that got voted out before the final tribal, but in this one, I want to, because I feel like in that other video it was about millennials and Gen X, and I feel like the person that was for was David, and if he would have gotten in, he would have automatically won. So there's nothing to talk about. But in this one, I think it's interesting to consider Ty, and if he would have gotten in. So, excuse me. If we look at all four of these people, I think that they each honestly have a case for winning the game. I think that you can look at Ty, you can look at Brad, Troyzan, and Sarah, and you can say that they each have a legitimate case to win. Now, some are stronger than others, and some excelled more than other people did, but I think that they each have something to hang their hat on. So I'm going to start with the person that people would probably consider the least strongest of the four, which would be Troyzan. But I'm going to break down his game into the three categories that the game talks about, and that they actually did at this tribal council, which I thought was cool. But I'm going to look at social game, strategic game, and gameplay and challenges, which is a little bit different than what Survivor does, but I feel like that is the essence of the game. So first, let's look at Troyzan's strategy. Now, I'm going to include idol play and finding idols in strategy because I feel like it comes down to votes and tribal. And so Troyzan did have an idol for almost all of the game. I got to give him that. He had a strong alliance in that he formed good bonds with the right people and knew people to vote with, and for part of the game was in an alliance, but for a lot of the game was at the bottom. But I'll give him some points for at one point being in the majority alliance. His strategic game was pretty weak, though. Overall, he was a follower for the most part, and he really did what Brad and Sierra told him to do. But he also explained in Final Tribal that he didn't want to be the one to throw out names right away, because as you might know in Survivor, if you're the one to always be picking people out to vote off, then eventually people will want to vote you off. So I think he was playing conservative, but he just needed to be a little bit more aggressive to have a good strategic game. And as far as his idol went, I don't think he played it in a situation where he needed to. No one had even really voted for him in that instance. They had voted for Sarah. He just did it because Ty and Sarah had done their idol plays, and he thought that he should get in on it. So the gravity of him having an idol really was under the radar compared to what it could have been. But he did play well in that respect. Alright, now as far as gameplay in challenges, Troy was very much of an underachiever in this season. Seeing him in One World, he was very good in individual immunities, and he had this sort of machismo, bravado, aggressive alpha feel to him in that season. But in this one, you could tell that he, in a situation with bigger players, was definitely not the alpha. It was Brad, and he really struggled a lot more in challenges than I thought he would. I thought he'd have about 2 or 3 under his belt, but he had 0 and struggled in some of them even. So I would say Troy performed very poorly in challenges compared to what I expected. And as far as social game, I think that Troy played a great social game. You see it in the final vote off when they send Ty home. He hugs him and says friends for life, and he didn't piss anybody off the whole game. Everyone liked him. And I think that in a season like this, that actually should be valued a lot more than people realize, because let's look at season 20 when Sandra won. It was a heroes versus villains season, an all-star season. And with a bunch of people that make big moves in that year, She won as a person who didn't make big moves, and what she did to win was she just was friends with everybody. Nobody was upset with her, and at the end, with the huge bloodbath that had gone on, she was the one with clean hands, and so people awarded it to her. So I think Troyzan did play well in that case, and I don't think that should really be viewed as a negative anymore, that he just got to the end without offending anybody and didn't really do anything big, because there have been winners who have won that way. He's maybe a weaker winner, but Bob won that way. He didn't piss anybody off. He won in Gabon, and I think the best example of this, though, is JT. Yes, JT made some big moves, but a big part of why JT won was because he was likable and he became friends with everybody. That was a huge part of JT's win, and people often forget that because he won, I think, 2 immunity challenges. But I would argue the bigger reason he won is because everybody liked him. So Troyzan had likability. That was a great feature that he had going for him. So I would say he made a strong case, and in a different season, you might even see him win this, but his competition was very good. So I say he doesn't win. All right. Now I am going to go on to the person who actually did win this season, Sarah. I, in retrospect, think that she should have won, but I would not have thought that at the time. If I would have been on the final jury, I probably would have voted for Brad over Sarah, but I do think that Sarah did a good job. A big thing that Sarah had in her pocket was that she was always on the right side of the votes, and we will get into that. So first, let's address her strategic game. So that is part of her strategic game. She was always with the right side of the votes and always voted the person off who was going home. And so she did that well. And she did have the legacy advantage and the steal a vote advantage. Both were really big and both helped her do well and gave her a lot of credit at the end as far as being a strategic player. I don't think the legacy advantage really takes much strategy to play well. You just play it when you get down to 6. But hey, she still had it, so that's still some strategy. As far as steal a vote, actually, I don't think that she played this part very well because she ended up essentially wasting her steal a vote when she used it to vote off Michaela. So, I don't know. I don't think that was that brilliant of a move. She found it, yes. That is something to be commendable, and that is very impressive that she found it, but she didn't really use it well. And as with a lot of things, like finding idols and stuff like that in Survivor, how valuable is an advantage if you misuse it? It's really only valuable for leverage then. But she didn't really use it for leverage all that well either with Cirie, because it just backfired because she perceived Cirie to be betraying her in that scenario. So ultimately, I would say Sarah did play a good strategic game. Would I give it an A+? No. Would I give it an A-? Yeah. Because although she did a lot of things well, a lot of things like the legacy advantage, people perceive that as one of her premier moves in the game. That wasn't a move. That was just her getting a thing from another person. So that actually plays into what I would say was her social game, though. And so because of that, I'll go into her social game. She got that legacy advantage from Sierra because she was such a strong social player. And this is why she won the season. This is it right here. She had good relationships with everybody, but unlike Troyzan, she translated those good relationships into strategy, which is a huge part of the game that I think is a connection that people miss. You have to not only be likable, you can't just do what Troyzan did and be likable. You have to translate likability into strategy. You have to look at the playing field and say, how can I play on this person's emotions and feelings in our relationship and translate that into a winning strategy for myself? And Sarah did that. While she was friends with everybody, she was able to get onto the strategic side as well and get on the votes with the right people at the right time, and it translated into a win for her. So I think that was her big thing, was her social game translating into a strategy game. So she melded 2 different facets of the game and did it seamlessly, which is really impressive. And her social game did lead her to get the legacy advantage, which was very impressive, which is another blend of strategy and social game. So social game is where I think that she really stood out this season. She did have good strategic game, but social game was amazing. And then finally, gameplay. She did win one immunity, which was impressive, and she was in a few of them, but it was a pretty average one. She wasn't bad because she won one, but she wasn't amazing like compared to Culpepper this season. He played really good in individual immunities, but she played decent, good in gameplay. So I think that she played a very strong game, but I don't know. I don't think that it was. I think she definitely deserved to win, but I think this was such a good season that everybody else has a case, and there really are no bad choices on who you pick to win. But she'd probably be third. That's why I'm putting her in this slot in my ordering. All right. Next, I'm going to put Brad Culpepper. Now, yes, he did win the 5 individual immunities. That's what everyone's going to think of. But he did have other aspects to his game that need to be looked at. So let's start off with his strategic game. Brad was part of the Majority Alliance at the beginning of the merge with Debbie and Sierra and Troyzan and all of them. But then after Debbie got voted out, he found himself at the bottom, and he thought that the only way that he could get by was by winning immunities and just surviving, which he did. But I think a thing that is overlooked is that Brad did not attempt to strategize with people who were not in his alliance. He would turn to Troyzan or Sierra, but he would never go across and try to form some sort of bond with Cirie and talk strategy with her. He would just leave her and let the cards fall where they may, which I think was not a good idea whatsoever. So strategically, he did put names out when it came to who should we vote out, and he did have a few smart ideas. He was part of getting Ozzy off, which is big, and getting Haley off, both of them. But I don't know. I think that he played a very average strategic game. Moving forward, let's go to his social game. I don't think that Brad played a good social game. I think that Ty was one of his biggest friends for a lot of the season, and towards the last couple episodes, he really started to isolate Ty and be a bully to him and be rude, and I think that hurt him in Final Tribal because people said, hey, this is one of your biggest allies, and you're mistreating him. But he did kiss and make up, not literally kiss and make up, but they did have a hug at the reunion, and he said, Ty's a great guy, and the elements were getting to me, but still, I feel like some of Culpepper from Blood vs. Water came out where he was saying to Ty, like, I'm the boss of you, we're going to do what I think is right, and this is the only way that you're going to be successful in this game. I feel like he tried to turn over this new leaf and say, oh, I'm the good Brad Culpepper, I'm actually a good guy, I'm going to play like Monica. But I feel like his true colors came out when push came to shove, and he was this aggressive, controlling guy. Not a bad guy, just that's how he plays the game, is that he wants total control, and the illusion of him winning immunities made him think that he was in control. But winning immunity only gives you control of your own destiny, doesn't give you control of the people around you, which is what he really mistaken. And moving on to his gameplay, very good. Wins the 5 individual immunities, tied for the most ever with him and Ozzy and Colby and Terry Dietz, and very impressive. Can't say anything to, knock him. He played as good as you can in challenges. He actually didn't do it as dominantly as some of the other guys, I feel like, though. He won a few early in the merge, and then he won 3 late in the merge, but, someone like Terry won the 5 in a row, or someone like, actually Mike from Worlds Apart won 5 out of 6, and that was really impressive. But still, very impressive. Got to tip my hat off to him. But I think the main reason that he did not win was okay, let's look at this. Ozzy makes the argument at Final Tribal that, Brad has done the thing that so few people have done and won all these challenges. And in my season, when I won all those challenges, I almost won by 1 vote. So really, Brad deserves it. But I would argue that, hey, Ozzy, you lost that season Cook Islands for a reason. just being good in challenges is not enough to win a season of Survivor. You know, both Brad and Ozzy played very well in challenges, but that's a third of the game. If you dominate 1/3 of the game, there can be another player out there that dominates 2/3, such as Sarah, or in Ozzy's case, Yul, and that can lead to your demise in the game and not winning the million. So I think that Ozzy's big reason, and the big reason that a lot of people sided with Brad, is defunct, because Ozzy was saying because Brad won these, he deserves to win. But let's look at all the people that have won all the big challenge run winners. So Colby, Ozzy, Terry Dietz, Mike Holloway, and Brad Culpepper. That is 5 guys right there. Yep, 5. And if you really think about it, only one of them won, which is Mike. And why did he win? Because his competition in the final 3 was very, very weak, and people who had done nothing the whole time. But Colby lost, Ozzy lost, Terry lost, and Brad lost. So I think that's the proof in the pudding right there that just winning immunities is not enough. And now, the guy that I think maybe has the best case, I'm not going to say that definitively, but I probably would have voted for him in a final tribal scenario if he were in the final 3, is Ty. Now, Ty, the reason I'm going to say that he's the winner in my book is that if he gets into that final tribal and Brad doesn't just vote off of raw emotion and he does the logical thing and votes Sarah off, then Ty gets in the final. And I think if you look at Ty, let's look at his strategic game first. He found 3 idols. That is super impressive. No one can touch that. He's in the Russell Hantz arena as far as finding idols. He played them effectively. Just as big as finding them, he played them very well, which is completely impressive, and you gotta hand it to him. He knows idols and how to play them well. Alright, moving on from that strategically, he not only was able to play them well, but not just for himself. He played them for Sierra and for Aubrey, and did a good job in that scenario. He also revolutionized the game in that he started this whole let's whisper at tribal and get up and move around thing. And that was quite a difference maker compared to how things originally were on the Survivor Tribal Councils. I don't know if he was the one who first got up and did it, but he was a big proponent in that first Tribal Council where Malcolm went home of getting up and whispering with people. So that is a big game changer type of thing, and I think a big strategic change in the game compared to what we've seen in the past. So his strategic game, very strong. Moving on, I want to talk about his gameplay. Ty, he's right there at the end in a lot of challenges, and he did win some this season. I think he won 1 or 2. It's impressive, but it's not like in the other ones he was bad either. He's competitive in every challenge, which is impressive. You look at the small guy and you don't think that he has it in him, but he does. He talks in Ko Wrong about how he was in the concentration camps before he came to the U.S., and I think that actually has really helped him become a mentally tough player and a physically tough player in that he can endure a lot of pain. Like on that pole challenge with Ozzy when he beat him, and he beat Ozzy's record. That was highly impressive. And moving on to social game, Ty is a very likable person. I really have enjoyed watching Ty on Survivor. I think that he is quite impressive just on how he becomes friends with everybody and comforts everyone, and is a bright spot and a very happy person who is very kind to others. And, he sort of falls into the Troyzan area of being really likable and nice and forming good relationships to everybody. He didn't do as well as Sarah in that he didn't translate that into really good strategy. He did a little bit in that people felt good around him, but he sort of fell into the trap that a lot of Survivor players do of, Ty, you're friends with me, but you voted against me. What's the deal, man? And people think that he betrays them, but he doesn't. So I don't know. I still think he played a very good social game and that he's very likable. And a lot of the jury said that they would have voted for him if he would have gotten in. So Well, that's that. I went over all four and why I think they should win or why I think that they should not win. I think that this was a season that's very rare in Survivor. I liked it a lot in that at the end, I think that all of the people that made it to the end had a legitimate chance to win. You know, you might want to say Troyzan was a GOAT and he got dragged there, but you know, anyone who makes it to the end in a season like this has done a good job because it's all hyper competitive, really good players of Survivor. And you know, Troyzan can be a really good immunity person in one season on one world, and you know, in another season with All Stars, he can look really average. So I don't think that that means that he's a bad player or subpar player. I just think it means that there is such an immense talent level in this season that good players become average players. So that's that. I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.